Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining the forum of TESOL Narratives. I'm Muhammad Khan, the point person for the series, and I'm here to introduce everybody, and especially to our guest presenter, Professor Cara McBride. So Cara McBride is joining us today from Northampton, Massachusetts, where she lives. She works for a Washington, DC-based organization called World Languages. And her current projects include a multilingual early grade reading and social and emotional learning project in Lebanon. She's also doing a USAID project reforming the high school curriculum for work readiness in Uzbekistan. And Cara is also engaged in a global online teacher training course on teaching culture and critical thinking. More than 35,000 teachers around the world have completed teacher training courses designed by Cara and offered through US Department of State open program. Before coming to World Learning, Cara was an associate professor in the Department of Languages, Literature, and Culture at St. Louis University, Missouri. She taught Spanish and linguistics and led the department's teacher training programs. Some of her research at the time explored the development of intercultural competence, speaking proficiency, and listening comprehension. This combination has led her to find ways to combine her love of acting and improv into her classes and research. Cara finds that people learn best when they are able to approach what they are learning with a playful attitude, and I completely agree with her. Today, she will share with you some techniques that come from theater and can be used in language classes to let learners play with the language in a low-stress, fun way that supports second language acquisition. Cara has a PhD in second language acquisition and teaching from University of Arizona, one master's degree in applied linguistics, TESOL, from Indiana University, another master's degree in Spanish and Latin American studies from Purdue University, and a bachelor's degree in philosophy from University of Oregon. It is truly my honor to have Cara with us today, and I want to thank her for the presentation and for taking time for TESOL Narrative. Over to you, Cara.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you, Penn TESOL, for inviting me, and thank you everybody here for spending some of your Saturday with me. So as Mac told you, I am going to be talking about drama and having a charismatic voice. What I'll do during our time together today is first tell you a little bit about the research that I was doing that led me to this. And then we'll do, we'll see some actual activities, maybe 3, probably if we go really quick, maybe 4 activities. In any case, I'll tell you about the 4th one. So I'm really glad I got to see the faces of most of you. I'm now going to show you my PowerPoint. And while I'm showing it, I'm actually not in Northampton. I suddenly had to come to New York City today. And I'm in this little tiny room with a 1 screen. And anyway, I'm bad at monitoring chat when I'm giving. So, so just if you have anything you want to say, am I muted?
Not anymore, you unmuted, yeah.
Yeah, if you have anything to say, just feel free to shout it out. That is totally fine. So let me share my PowerPoint. I'm just going to share the whole screen. And so here we are. This doesn't get in your way too much. Okay, So, I, yeah, when I was, you know, a professor, I was very interested in oral language production. And I am, you know, when we are speaking, we usually are speaking because we want somebody else to understand what we're saying and react in a certain way. So as second language speakers, we want to try to, you know, come across in the best way possible. I don't know about you, but me in my early days of speaking Spanish, sometimes I would think, gosh, it's too bad people can't speak English with me because I'm charming and funny in English, and I'm not that charming in Spanish because I don't know it very well. So I'm, as a teacher, very interested always in helping students do as much as possible with whatever level of the language they have at the time. So when we think about second language or L2 pronunciation, we know that the people listening to us are judging us. We judge instantly. As soon as a person starts talking, we start thinking things about the way they speak. We can be thinking about how much they are comprehensible. And of course, that's our #1 goal. We are communicative language teachers and we want people to understand what's being said. That's one thing. And that's, you know, some of the research that I was doing was about that. Another way that people have looked at second language pronunciation has been in terms of foreignness, but that's a very problematic concept, and it depends, you know, which particular model you're thinking of and whatever. So never mind foreignness. We don't care. But then what we do care a lot about is our emotions, right? So we can have emotional, affective responses to the way someone is talking. So let's think about, you know, if we were to actually see like, okay, when people hear this particular way of speaking, what is their reaction? So I looked at the literature and saw some of the ways that second language pronunciation has been studied. And here are the main categories. So do you like the accent? Do you like the pronunciation? That's pleasantness. Status has to do with, does the person sound like maybe they, you know, are from a high rank, maybe they're, you know, somebody important, or on the other hand, when you hear the way they talk, do you think probably they're just sort of, you know, regular guy, not very important in society? People make judgments about that, often unconsciously, of course. Then the is social attractiveness or solidarity, which is basically like, would you want to hang out with them? And then the last one is dynamism. That's what it's usually called in applied linguistics. In other fields and in sort of more everyday language, we usually call it charisma. And so when we're always judging people in these ways, whether we know it or not. And one thing that's important to note is that they are not connected necessarily. I mean, they are separate. So this picture as an example to show that you can consider your boss, for example, maybe high status, but not pleasant, and you don't feel a sense of solidarity necessarily with your boss. So, you know, somebody can be high on one and low on another. And of course, the listeners react different ways depending on, you know, that, you know, you can be thinking about how do they pronounce their vowels or how do they use their intonation. There's all sorts of different things about the way we speak that affect how people perceive. And of course, there's this huge importance of who are the listeners and what kind of person is listening and making this judgment. So one big difference when we look at second language pronunciation is the difference between the native speaker and the non-native speaker. and how they judge someone. So that has been shown very robustly that in general, native speakers focus more on communicative ability, whereas non-native speakers tend to have a little bit of this sort of like, I see you're not pronouncing your vowel right, you know, kind of like picking on certain details that don't necessarily affect whether people can understand the speaker. And you can see here, it says actually McBride 2015. I did some research, this research I'm just about to share with you. I did it both looking at English as a second language and Spanish as a second language. And then, but today we're only talking about the English as a second language part. This article that I published was on the Spanish part. So here's a map that shows where I collected data. I was living in St. Louis at the time, so that's here A. And then I went to northern Mexico, and then a city in Argentina and a city in Chile to collect the different data that I'm going to tell you about. So, so what I did is I collected recordings of people who were native Spanish speakers and non-native English speakers. And they spoke, it was spontaneous language. They were telling a story. The speakers were from northern Mexico and from this town in Argentina. And I got many recordings and had them, then people evaluated them on a number of like Likert scale, and then also writing some information. And I also did some follow-up interviews with some people to learn more.
May I ask what town in Argentina?
Yeah, Cordoba.
Cordoba, okay.
And so then I had native English speakers rate these, and I also had native Spanish speaker rate them, people from Chile and Argentina. So here is just a little bit of the data. We're mostly, you know, we're going to go over this very quickly, not very long. But anyway, the way that people, you know, that affected ratings on dynamism is if people used intonation in a way that didn't really fit normal patterns. So this person, this was a man, and he was saying girlfriend, sister. It went down in a place where it doesn't normally, the intonation doesn't normally go down. And people found this speaker to be pretty, you know, boring, essentially, not, and they had a hard time. What was, you know, interpreted very positively by native speaker judges was if you used a lot of intonation differences in ways that are, you know, pretty normal. So for example, this person said, but you can see her, she had this but going up and down a lot. And then she says, by the way, oops, the wasn't a problem. Adding a lot of ums didn't affect it negatively. And then here she continues using her intonation. He gets surprised when he reads the, and it's somewhere around here, like letter, and so on. So she's using a lot of this intonation, and people found her to be essentially charming. Now, this here shows some comparisons on dynamism or charisma. Numbers, you know, people were rating them on a Likert scale. So if they were positive numbers, you know, saying that they sounded pretty dynamic, it's above the bar. And if they had negative ratings, it's below the bar. And what we see here are some pretty dramatic responses. Mexican males were rated very negatively by native and non-native speakers. Mexican females were rated very positively, and that was partially because they had this lots of intonation. And then the Argentinian males and females were rated, you know, okay, you know, kind of close to neutral. And then if we compare this actually to native English speakers, you can see that Mexican females and US native English speaking females are considered very dynamic because of these intonation patterns. And it makes it all the more striking how negatively the Mexican males were rated. So we don't want our students experiencing that. So we want them to play with intonation and other cues that can help them communicate what interesting people they are. So one last piece of information from this study was that this extending a filler for too long had a very negative effect on people's perception. So if you say, and please take it, and like that, it hurts the perception. And that's interesting in part because it's actually quite normal in Spanish to draw out fillers like that, but it doesn't carry over to English very well. So we want our students to come across as charismatic people. And I started researching charisma, and it turns out that in the business world, they study charisma, and they actually, you know, have studied like, how can a person seem more charismatic? And they have done studies, and they've shown that these things here on the right are the main points you want to focus on to teach charisma to somebody. And they have shown time and time again that it works. You can, if you get training on this over time, people perceive you as more and more charismatic. So posture is one of them. Just having good posture immediately brings you, you know, higher ratings. Leaning forward, you can see this woman in the picture is leaning forward to the people listening to her. That's received very well in at least the cultures that these studies were done in, mostly the United States. And then voice tone, as I was showing you the graphs and so forth, really has a big effect on how people perceive you. These others, you know, have even less to do with the specific words coming out of your mouth, making eye contact, not constantly, but a lot. Active listening, of course, is, you know, the listening side, not the speaking side, and animated facial features. So let's look at some ways that we can encourage these, but not in a pressureful way for our students. Just encourage playing with them and getting more comfortable. So the first one is a fairly simple one, posture. I'm just going to talk about this idea, and we're not going to practice this one, but then we'll practice the second one. So when you have a good posture, it allows you to project your voice better, and you just look more confident. And not only do you look more confident, it actually turns out that biologically you are more confident. So let's see, these postures at the top are postures where the person is taking up a lot of space. And the postures at the bottom, these are kind of negative ones because it's the person is sort of making themselves small. So we want to encourage in our students sort of an open posture. Why? Well, they have actually shown that if you hold one of these open postures for 120 seconds in a row, it actually raises your levels of those hormones in your body that make you feel confident and make you feel willing to take risks. So since we want our students to do that in language classes, I have actually, it's hard to do over Zoom, but I've done with students and teachers, this actually just, you know, time it on your phone, have everyone stand like this for 120 seconds and take it from there. I recommend doing this with your students, in part because it just communicates to them that you want them to feel confident, and that something small like this can make a big difference in how they come across. And of course, I recommend it because it seems that it actually does have a positive effect on people's thoughts and what they do. So I recommend this. Another thing connected to posture that I recommend is doing maybe some of these kinds of exercises with your students to help them as kind of a warm-up. And as English teachers, one of the things I love about simple body movements is that it uses all kinds of phrasal verbs very easily. So it's a nice way of using total physical response, which really is a good methodology, and kind of wiring the words to the muscle movements. All right, so let's move on to volume. And these are some of the activities that we will be practicing together. So volume for some of us is easy, and for many of us is very hard. You need a good volume to sound confident and to even be heard, right? But I don't know about you, maybe, but I have had in the experience sometimes where I wasn't talking loud enough. People told me I wasn't talking loud enough. But then when I tried to be louder, it sounded like I was mad, right? That's sometimes happens. So we want to help people figure out how to project their voice, but without sounding like they're shouting. So, in order to have a resonant voice and to project your voice, there are all these spaces where there are vibrations, and we're trying to maximize that resonance. One way of doing it is by yawning. So let's all just yawn right now. And when you do that, you can feel how it actually does relax and open up this area here, and that allows you to project your voice better. So what you're going to do, we are about to be in just a moment, we're going to throw you into a breakout room. The breakout rooms will be 2 or maybe 3. And what I'd like you to do, it's just going to be a very fast little activity, just maybe 2 minutes, roughly, more like 5, but so basically you were to introduce yourselves, just you and the other person, just introduce yourselves. Make sure that both of you have the opportunity to say something, and be concentrating on, good body posture, resonant voice. Maybe try to, do the yawn movement before you to the other person, and see if you can project. It will seem a little weird and strange. That's okay. So just try to yourself with a resonant, loud voice and a good posture. If you would, please, great, go to your your rooms quickly. And I will give you, really just a couple minutes to do this. Hi, everybody. I guess you didn't make it to the breakout rooms? Were you assigned one and just didn't want to go? My person that like there was no volume. I couldn't hear the person in my
Oh, I'm gonna send it to some. It's not over yet because students took time to go to the room. So just, I would suggest give them a minute.
Yep. I don't know what happened to the person. It sounded like, you know, like I was like, can you hear me? And then I heard like,
I see.
but that was it.
Okay, so somebody from IELTS, somebody has joined us from UK also. Looks like IELTS company somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
Well, kick them out of the rooms. We've got a couple more to do.
Okay.
It's just.
So I'm gonna close the rooms. Okay, sure. So it's gonna take them 30 seconds to come back. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, I get lost.
Really, Anne?
Yes. I can get on Zoom on
Next time we're gonna make a room of 3 people. So making a smaller group, you know, like with 2 people takes a little longer time. So maybe with 3 people.
Sounds good.
Kara, we are all back in the main room.
Okay.
Mhm.
So was anyone able to project their voice and be louder than normal?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, one person.
Yes.
All right, well, we're
could talk
warming
to
up, so.
someone.
What did you say?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, well, now we're going to move from a little strange to sillier. And oh, all right, so this, you know, the idea here was to have a presence, be louder. It's hard to be that sometimes in a second language. People feel shy very often. So getting people to practice being louder. I remember another thing, like in my early days of, not even my early days, after a pretty long time of speaking Spanish, I remember this one time being in a restaurant and I really wanted the waiter to see me and come over, but I just couldn't bring myself to say it loud enough. So, you know, I like to give shy students opportunities to practice not being so shy. So, you know, ways that you can have people get a little louder. I mean, one of the things I would always say to my students was say it loud and say it proud, and try to give them like contexts for doing that. For example, you know, if they have to say something across from a distance, you know, and I have students sometimes move far apart and then say these lines to each other and practice them a few times for fluency. And, you know, the mouth is, you know, the tongue is a muscle you need to keep practicing, but you don't want to just practice in too boring of a way. So giving students like a context to practice saying things a few times and saying it loud. Now we're going to move on to voice tone and voice color. And this next activity is one that I just love. It's very easy. You can do it at any level of students at all. People learn their numbers right at the very beginning. So even if they don't know any numbers or any words besides their numbers, they can do this activity. And what you do is you count out loud. And then every third number you say in a particular way. So for example, maybe the particular way is surprise. So I'll count my first two numbers just normal. And then the third number, I'll sound surprised. And then something like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. And so on. Or you could try another one, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Okay, so I know it's confusing sometimes thrown into rooms. We're going to do it again. You'll be in rooms with maybe 3 or so people, and the idea is to take turns. Let one person count to 10. Every third number is surprised, and then, you know, take turns all doing that, and then go another round and count. Every third number is impatience. And then I'm curious if you can, you know, in your group, if you can come up with what would be a good one for another emotion that you can use on every third number. So that's my question for you. So if you would, again, please put people into breakout rooms. I'm going to write these emotions in the chat too, so that you can see it. And
Hello.
so does everyone know that they need to like click on the whatever room they were invited to?
I did, and I couldn't get in on a Zoom, Miss Kara.
Oh,
Yeah, and all by myself.
that's terrible. Well,
This is second time. The first time I get lost too.
Well, how about everybody who can hear this, just go down to the bottom where it says breakout room and actually go to the, or why does it? Oh,
And I'm sending you to a room. Please accept it.
Okay, I put on joy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me?
Right. Lucy, are you alone in that room?
I'm not alone. There is someone actually, but she or he doesn't say anything. It's like I am the only one participant.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm sending you somewhere, Lucy. Which room are you in, Lucy?
Room 6.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you. You're not in room 6. I don't. Okay, so I'm sending you to room. Okay, accept it.
I hope this works. I don't. Not yet.
And
Yes.
what happened?
I don't have the screen message join.
Okay, I'm sending you once again to another room. Can you accept it this time?
Yes, I always accept it, but it doesn't go to the room.
Why?
I don't understand. I don't know. Now, okay, now say room 5 and I join it, then it all by myself. Okay, let me hope it works.
Please, I don't know in which room I am.
So hi, everybody here. Did you go to any breakout rooms and you're back? Or you just weren't able to go to a breakout room?
Cara,
Mhm.
do you want me to end the breakout room?
Yep.
Okay. Cara, everyone is back now to the main room.
Okay. So did you get some good, yes? Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that I see in the chat that Michelin said that, yes, there was some good impatient and surprised sounds. Did you come up with a third one? Anybody?
Oh,
I had
yes.
an idea. Oh, go ahead. Somebody else? I had an idea.
Let's hear it.
Oh, have you ever heard of Spunky? It's an acronym for, Spunky is an acronym for surprise, puzzle, understand, something new, something you already knew, K for already knew, and then interesting. So I thought I could use my spunky. If you Google spunky, it'll come up what spunky is. And then I thought I could use this exercise with spunky in my class.
That's a good one. That's a
Hey,
nice thing. It gives them
okay.
lots to do. What other ones did you use?
So my third one was something like 1, 2, 3.
I think you would be an excellent actor. You put a lot of emotion into it. So great. That is I find it's a really nice warm up at the beginning of a class, I find. So now we're going to do one more that it's similar, but has an extra twist to it. So this one is just you know, these are, well, you can put students in pairs, and then you just have the line that person A says and the line that person B says. And then you can try these with different emotions. So for the first round, for example, you can say it aggressively. That's enough. Okay. And then you can say the same thing and have totally different meaning if you say it in a different way. For example, flirtatiously, that's enough. Okay. So then my question to you would be, what would be a good third adverb for an interesting way to take that's enough, okay, and put some interesting flavor onto it? All right. So that's my entire introduction to that activity. We're going to throw you once again into breakout rooms, and you're going to, do this dyad. That's enough, okay, and trying different emotions. First aggressively, then flirtatiously, and then experiment and see what another good adverb is. All right. So throw them into the chaos of the of the breakout rooms one last time.
Cara, what should be the size?
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4, since it just seems like it's easier to make sure you have enough people in a breakout room to start. So
Okay, please accept the breakout room invite. You got to accept it.
yeah. You have to-
Tatiana? I'm sending you to a room. Please accept it. Tatiana, please accept the room. Join the room, please. Accept it. Tatiana?
I'm sorry, but problem.
No problem. Tatiana, you can't join it?
I don't know if I'm already in the room.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for being late.
That's fine. That's fine. Kara, do you want them to come back?
Yeah,
Okay.
if I had enough time.
So I'll close all the rooms now.
Yeah.
It usually takes a minute to bring back everyone into the main room. Dr. Kara, we are all back in the main room now.
Okay. Well, we're doing this very quickly and it's a little hard on Zoom to make sure that everything makes sense, but did some of you manage to sound aggressive or flirtatious? Did you?
Yes, yeah, we did.
Okay, good.
Yes, thank you.
Was it funny?
Yes, but we learn to each other.
I'm just curious and interested in how you did it flirtatiously. Can anybody do it for me?
Professor Khan, that's enough. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. And did you get the third one? Did you have a good idea for another way of saying it?
We thought we could say it romantically, but we failed a bit.
What was the word? I missed it.
Romantically.
Romantically. Ah, yeah. That would be a good one too.
Exactly.
Any others?
And they said like,
Yes.
and they said like, that's enough.
Nice. And
Yes, we found one.
yeah, what was it?
Yeah. For our group, it was sadly like, oh, that's enough.
Okay.
Oh.
And one of the things I love about this very fast exercise is it just shows how you can express so much in just like 1 or 2 words, right? So, all right, we're going to wrap up now. I'll just say a few more words to close off my ideas today. So yeah, I mean, you can change what the words are, you know, but the idea is it's often easier to practice this if it's a very short line that you have to say, but you could go much longer. Okay, now we mentioned how posture and expressions, gestures, and facial expressions have a big impact. So you might want to add those into some of your activities as well. And then the last one, I didn't think we would have time. We don't have time, but just to give you this idea, this is another nice warm up, is to have everyone go around in a circle and build sentences 1 word at a time. So the first person would say in, the next person would say this, the next person activity, and so on. Each person adds just 1 word at a time. It's fun. Sometimes you get really funny sentences this way, but it also is an activity that you have to make sure you explain well first, I have found. So anyway, the idea here, this is a picture of Prince Charming, and we want our students to be as charming in their second language as they are in their first language. And some of these fun, silly activities can help them make those connections for how, even in a second language, maybe they don't speak much at all, you can really communicate a lot of emotion and, you know, get high ratings on the dynamism. And it is also, you know, one of these 21st century skills of, you know, good communication skills. So with that, here is my email if anyone wanted to get in touch with me. And once again, just thank you very much for your participation and your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kara. I just want to thank everybody in here, especially all the students, my colleague, and Professor Kara McBride. I just want to close the session by saying a few words on what a splendid session it has been. And the thought that comes to my mind that in TESOL literature, especially teaching pronunciation and teaching pronunciation course books, rarely talk about loudness, posture, putting putting emotions into expressions. And throughout this session, I was thinking that this is new. This has been one of the sessions where you do not hear things that you have already heard 100 times. No. So what a great session, I must say that. I love the idea of paying attention to our students' posture because it helps them about their loudness, about putting emotions and the tone pairs and the power gestures and everything. I think we have the responsibility to make them more charismatic and dynamic, because that feeds into their communicative competence. I have no words to express my gratitude and thanks to the Professor Kara McBride. This was fantastic. That's the word that comes to my mind. And I want to thank all my students and Dr. Francie for the word spunky. I'm going to Google it right after this session. Thanks everyone for your participation. We'll catch you soon. Thanks, Dr. Kara McBride, once again.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.